Ryan here from Venture, and today we've reached the final guest for the Young Entrepreneurs Week. It's been a fantastic week, and today it's my pleasure to introduce Daniel. So Daniel, can you please tell me what attracted you to property?
I guess property, I've been in property from a young age. It's the fundamentals. My dad said if you're in food, clothing or shelter, you'll never go hungry. So I believe you need the property or the shelter in order to distribute food and distribute clothing. So I'm in the game.
I love that. I really like that, in the game. It seems to be the theme this week that everybody who I've interviewed has had that common theme that we've been exposed to business or property from an early age. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about your property journey?
Yeah, so I'm quite fortunate because my parents had property and rented it out in the social sector. So I had a real start in that sort of industry within property and social in particular. And through which I was able to then sort of work with joint venture partners at 19, 20 to start building a portfolio in East London, specifically for the social market. And now most recently working with Caradon Group, who are well funded and were developing property specifically for the social market. So my journey's been buying my own properties with investor cash, and now working with a company that has a fund who are looking to do big things in the industry.
So can you tell me a little bit more about Caradon, because I know that they're one of the partners of Property Tribe, so it'd be good for you to give us a bit of a expose, if you would, on them.
Absolutely. So Caradon Group of Companies, it incorporates Caradon Landlord Solution, which is a sponsor for the Property Tribes, which specifically helps landlords with sort of evictions and universal credit queries, because it's quite a minefield out there. We've also got the property company, which manages and guarantees rents to the landlord, and more recently in the past few years has got the development company, which is developing property specifically for the social market. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of companies there, and I, as the head of business development and strategic partnerships for the group, I get to sort of see the different elements and see how can we expand, how can we grow, and how can we work with local governments and housing associations to deliver more affordable schemes for clients.
Gosh, wow, so quite a diverse range then there.
Yeah, I actually thinking about it, I was like, wow, okay, I do quite a lot.
Yeah, you didn't realise how good you were then, did you, until you said it out loud and I was like, oh, I'm
blushing.
I'm all right, yeah. Don't panic. So that's quite a broad spectrum. So can you tell me about the advantages that you think, being young, you bring to that role?
So fundamentally, I'd say the advantage of being young was my ignorance. I didn't know as much as I know now, and that was a good thing because it allowed me to take that first step, and then taking that second step, I then gained more knowledge. Yep. But if I knew what I knew now, you'd probably have analysis paralysis. So the advantage of being young was my ignorance.
Yep.
And Steve Jobs once said in one of his speeches in, I think it was Stanford, he said, stay hungry, stay foolish. And I believe it's that hunger of the youth, but then the foolishness that it is quite blissful to just go at it. I think that was the advantage for me.
That's definitely a theme throughout all of the interviews, is that we are ridiculously driven, being young, but we are fearless, and we're not scared of things, are we?
That's for sure.
And we don't always see the scary things in it. So I know one thing for me is that I've got a business partner who is 20 years older than me, and he's sort of not really been a business partner, he's been more of a mentor for me, and I openly state that I wouldn't be here today without him. As working in a group such as that, or in your personal life, maybe through your family, has somebody been able to mentor you, or have you had that support network to be able to lean on?
I've had the benefit of having people who saw something that I didn't see in myself at times, and I would say fundamentally mentorship has been perhaps the number one key to my success, and that's just having someone that I could bounce it off. And I think also in my mind I never looked at my age as a barrier, so I'd always say okay, that person's in their 40s, but why can't I do that? And I'll ask a mentor, but forget about the age, I don't care what age I am, why can't I do that? So it was always having someone who was older and wiser. I wasn't thinking, oh, I've got years to catch up. I thought, I want to be there now, and how can I fast track that in terms of the knowledge? So that was always fundamental, and just the advice and the guidance from my parents to my other mentors in life has been fundamental.
So talking about your parents, are they very supportive throughout your life? Did they actively encourage you to get into property, or when you told them you're going into property, what did that conversation look like?
So actually my mum wanted me to go to university, and I listened to, it was the day before I was meant to go to university, that I listened to Steve Jobs' speech at Stanford, and he said, "Don't live someone's dogma." And next day I called my sister. I said, "I'm not going to university," and then I just started from there. I just said, "Cool, I've got a clear purpose and focus. I'm going into it." And then eventually, when it paid off, he's like, "Yes, that's my son."
Yeah, well done.
Well
I always
done.
knew you could do it.
Exactly.
I always said you would.
Exactly. So it was well worth it, and I guess that's why I live by that day by day. I don't live anyone's dogma. I truly decide and I go for it.
It does seem, you do seem a very driven person, and we go back to, there's been so many common themes throughout this week, and that is one of them, and it comes back to mindset as well, and how you approach things. And how do you think that you've developed that mindset, or was it always there, and have people just sort of enabled you to sort of move it along slowly, or how has it sort of come about, your mindset?
I'd say it's definitely come from my parents, and although obviously I said my mum wanted to go to university, I guess that's more out of out of fear of me not being successful. So she thought, okay, just follow this path. But she's always sort of instilled with me sort of the confidence and going out there and attacking things. So I'd say it's just been having the people around me that truly believed in what I've tried to create and want to do. That's helped me along, to be honest. And
I can't agree with that anymore. I'm exactly the same. It's really strange doing these interviews, and the similarities between talking to people like yourselves and myself, where my parents were always like, you can do whatever you want, why can't you? If you want to do something, go and do it. And both of them are self-employed, so I grew up seeing that. So very similar to you, I never had a barrier about age. I never had any self-limiting beliefs. I always thought, I can do that. But along that way, I have had quite a few challenges. So maybe it'd be good for you to tell me about sort of one of your biggest challenges and how you overcame that.
I'd say it's hard to zero in on one, but definitely along the journey it's been quite difficult. From losing certain deals, the deal that went away that then in 2 years' time doubled in value, and you're thinking, what could I have done more? But I'd say fundamentally the biggest challenge for me has been expectation and learning to let go and allow things to flow. Yeah. Because I've just been so like, I've got to do this, I've got to be a millionaire by 21, I've got to have this by that it causes tension even within yourself. And I'm just learning to let go and flow and just allow things to happen. Hence the opportunity we carried on. I could have said, no, I'm working for a company, but I saw the vision and I want to be part of something rather than it has to be all on my own. So I'm learning to work with people and grow together with other people. That's what it was a challenge, and now it's something that I'm working on. So.
I like it. So you've taken that and you've harnessed all of that energy and you've put it to something productive.
Absolutely.
I think that's incredible. Very similar to yourself, I hated losing deals for so long. With my history as a Betfair trader, it was always, sometimes I'd miss trades, and I've taken that into property now, where there's always going to be another deal, and I'm not fussed too much now about that, but it does take time if you lose a deal, because it's gutting, and I don't think it's when we start this journey, we all start dreaming of making loads and loads of money, and then we start to love the journey, and that really comes through for most of us. So when we actually lose a deal, I think it spurs us on to go and find another bigger and better deal, and we're always learning, aren't we? And that is part of the process. And I know that I personally love the process. I don't know about you.
It's an amazing journey. Every day is different, so I love the process too.
I've asked that question to everybody who we've interviewed pretty much this week, and everybody's face lights up when we talk about the journey and that actual process. It's great, and it's really great to see, and it's really inspired me even more, especially speaking to people like you who are very strong. So can you give me a top tip for anybody wanting to start out as an entrepreneur or as a property person?
Wow. I would say I'll go back to my earlier point, which was be ignorant, be driven, and consume and try and narrow in on your niche and be the best at that. But don't do that before you start. So do that for what gets you from point A to B, won't be what gets you from B to C and from C to D. That's my advice. So just start. And then be the best and zero in on exactly what you want to do and achieve, and know exactly what it looks like. Don't hold it too tight, but still know what you want and allow it and just go with the flow. If that's kind of like 3 bits of advice.
Yeah,
But
that's
hopefully it helps.
really inspiring, and I can't agree with it anymore, really, because I've done exactly the same. You start, and then you never know where it's going to take you, and then you go down towards a certain path, and then you realise that you actually want to go there, and that's where you actually see yourself going. But this path has given you the skills to go that way, and the hardest part is starting. So once you've started, you gain that knowledge, and you move forward. That's really, really inspiring.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolutely incredible week. It's come to an end, and I'm really, really sad it's come to an end. I wish I could do this every single week, even with the drive. It's been great. Daniel, thank you very much for being part of the Young Entrepreneurs Week. I'm amazed at the people that we've had on this week. I'm really grateful to Property Tribes for giving me this opportunity. So thank you very much for being part of Young Entrepreneurs Week, Daniel, and thank you for having me.